What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rovardo. No co-host today. Alex a little under the weather, so deviating away from the live streams, I'm here to give you guys Mock Draft 2.0. Now, on Mock Draft 1.0 that I did last week, you guys showed a ton of support. The likes were great. The comment section was awesome. So I just want to say thank you for that. And as I promised in that episode where I did that mock draft, I got some more planned leading up to draft week. And now we're officially under 1 week away from the start of the NFL draft. In fact, we're 1 week away from day 2 of the NFL draft today on this Friday afternoon that I'm recording this. So I want to do another mock draft. I want to go into mock draft 2.0. It's another 3-round mock draft that I have. And guys, the next mock draft that I do will be a 4-round mock draft. That should be delivered to you sometime early next week. And then we have our final mock drafts of the mock draft season right ahead of the 2025 NFL draft, which Alex will be joining me for, of course. And we got some other special content featured in that upcoming episode. So stay tuned to that. But anyway, I don't want to waste any more time. I just want to go ahead and go through this 3-round mock draft. Once again, though, thank you for the support on the last one. And make sure if you do enjoy this mock draft, you smash the like button. So with the first pick in this mock draft at number 3 overall, I'm not going to spend a ton of time explaining this one. It's the same pick I had in the last one. And to clarify, this is going to be a predictive mock draft. The last one was predictive, not what I would do. This one's going to be predictive as well. Probably the next one I do is also going to be predictive. And then the final one is going to be what I would do. So that's what's on the horizon. But diving into this, number 3 overall, I have the Giants taking Abdul Carter. The reason being, I just think number 1, it's going to be Cam Ward to the Titans. That's a lock. Number 2, it sounds like the Cleveland Browns are really leaning towards taking Travis Hunter. And as much as I would like Travis Hunter on the New York Giants, I think if you're a consistent viewer of this channel, you understand Travis Hunter is my favorite prospect in this draft class. Would love to have him. We're not going to have him, I don't think. If I'm going through the predictive route, not on what I would do or what I want to happen, I think Abdul Carter at number 3 overall makes the most sense for the Giants. Now, the main big question here is, why Abdul Carter? Why not a quarterback? And for me, the answer is simple. I just don't think that the Giants are in love with any of the quarterbacks at the top of this year's draft. We've heard a lot of buzz about the research that they've done on Shedeur Sanders in the past, but they've continued to do a lot of research on a lot of quarterback prospects in this draft class. And what I really think is going on here, they're preparing for all different scenarios and situations that they might face next weekend. Whether that's Shedeur Sanders at number 3 is still a possibility, or if that's Shedeur Sanders at 15 if they trade up or trade down, or if it's Shedeur Sanders at 32 if somehow, or 34 if he somehow slides all the way down to the back end of the first round or into the early second. I think that's partially why they're researching Sanders, but also keep in mind they've done extensive work with Jackson Dart, Kyle McCord, who I think they might have a lot of interest in based on the way Kyle McCord discussed his perspective on his meeting with the Giants while doing a spot on the Rich Eisen show, which I thought was really informative. I would go check that out if you haven't seen it just yet. They've done a lot of research on Tyler Shuck as well, Jalen Milroe. Pretty much every quarterback in this draft class, you bring them up and you can connect them to the New York Giants in one way or another. And again, I think that just more so indicates to me they understand quarterback long-term is a need. But as Joe Schoen said at his press conference on Wednesday, it's not mandatory. They don't need to take a quarterback at number 3 overall because they set up this roster in a way where if they had a game tomorrow, they could go out there and they could probably compete. That's what Joe Schoen said, and I think he's right because there aren't any glaring needs and holes to fill on this roster, right? Like they have a WR1. Their offensive line isn't great, but it's patchworked. It's good enough. Their defensive line, yeah, maybe you could use some improvements on the interior, but hey, they still do have Raheem Nunez-Roches under contract. They signed Roy Robertson-Harris. They've got some players all across the field where if they needed to play a game, they could. And obviously, the main point of that is Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. They have those two guys under contract and under center. Therefore, they don't need to take a quarterback. They still can, and if they're thinking long-term, maybe they will. But I think Abdul Carter makes sense because he is going to be the best player available. And I think this is a team that should just be going BPA in this draft. And that's kind of going to lead me into these other selections that we're going to go through throughout this mock draft. But truthfully, I think the best player available is the best route for the New York Giants, and Abdul Carter is the best player on the board there. Just some extra statistics on Abdul Carter for everybody in case, maybe you want some added in-depth analytics and stats from PFF. I'm going to go ahead and pull those up and read those off for you all because I think there's a lot to dive into with Abdul Carter. First and foremost, before I actually bring up these analytics, I just want to say this about him. You turn on the All-22 or even just the highlights with Abdul Carter. I've done both, but you watch the guy play. His get-off is kind of ridiculous. He snaps out of his stance so quickly, and he puts so much pressure on opposing offensive tackles to try and get to their spot before him, and they just can't do it. Offensive tackles are not as quick-footed as Abdul Carter. He has so much speed, around the edge. No, maybe he doesn't have as much power as a Micah Parsons. Maybe that actually isn't the best pro comp, even though it's the one that everybody makes. But if he has speed at that level, he's going to be an elite player. He has just elite athleticism and quickness getting off the line of scrimmage and getting into the backfield. And another thing about Abdul Carter, I've seen people say, well, we don't really need another pass rusher. We need another run stuffer. So why don't we go ahead and take an interior defensive lineman? Two things that I'll say about that. First and foremost, this defensive line class on the interior is very deep, and we'll get into that later. The second thing that I'll say is Abdul Carter led the nation with 24 tackles for loss last year. He is a great run defender and a great pass rusher with his 12 sacks last season. That's why he's such a great prospect, because he's not one-dimensional. He's not limited in his skill set. In fact, his skill set is so expansive that if you wanted to make him an inside linebacker, he'd be pretty damn good there too. Similarly to Micah Parsons, which is why he gets those comparisons outside of also coming from the same school and wearing the same number. But Micah Parsons coming out had a lot of experience playing inside linebacker and then eventually transitioned to the edge. Same thing with Abdul Carter, so you could see those similarities. But again, it's that speed off the edge and that ability to just be dynamic in the pass rush. And like we were saying in yesterday's live stream, you can really stack talent on the defensive line, and that's how you win championships. The New York Giants had a lot of linebackers in their front seven and pass rushers back in the 80s. Still went ahead and burned the first-round pick on Carl Banks and added more talent to that unit. Was that a mistake? No. Would it be a mistake if the Giants added Abdul Carter to this unit that already has Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, and so on and so forth? No, it wouldn't be, because the more talent in the front seven, the better. That's where championships are won. Look at the Eagles, look at the 2007-8, look at the 2011-12 New York Giants, stacking talent on the defensive line. For example, they had Strahan, they had Tuck, they had Umenyiora, still burnt the first on Matthias Kiwanuka. Then they had Kiwanuka, they had Tuck, they had Osi, still burnt to first on Jason Pierre-Paul, and all of those guys were integral in each of those Super Bowl runs. So I really don't think that the Giants should prevent themselves from taking a potential all-pro player here in Abdul Carter just because they spent a fifth-round pick recently on Kayvon Thibodeau and a second to trade for Burns. I think they should keep stacking that talent because that's how championships are won, is through the trenches and through the pass rush. So like I promised, some advanced stats on him. PFF had him with 66 total pressures last season and 43 hurries, so I wanted to add that on top of course, the added 12 sack, 24 tackle for loss stat line. He also had 43 stops against the run, which is a really high metric. So again, just proving that he can do it in both ways for the defense. So I said I didn't want to spend too much time on the first pick, but I don't know, I went on a tangent there just because I think it's important to keep explaining why this selection does make sense for the New York Giants. Again, if they take Shedeur Sanders, if they go quarterback, you won't hear me complain. I absolutely think that could be the way that it shakes out next week, and I think it's a fine option. I just think that the Giants aren't in love with Shedeur Sanders. I think that they've done a lot of research on him, yes. I think a lot of people have taken that and interpreted it as they love him. That's why they spend so much time with him. If they knew that they loved him early on in this process, why would they spend so much time on him? That would be wasting time. I think they're trying to figure out whether or not they do actually like him or where they really value him. And if they valued him as a top 3 pick, like they did with Cam Ward, like they do with Travis and with Abdul, maybe a couple days meeting, a few meetings, maybe not that much research. I think that's them trying to determine how they feel about Sanders and not indicative of them loving Sanders and wanting to take him at number 3. But that's just me personally, and we will see. They absolutely could take him next Thursday night, and hey, I won't complain. I'll be happy about it because I think he's a good player. But I think that Abdul Carter is the better player, and I think the Giants are inclined to go best player available in this year's draft. And that's going to lead us right into round 2, where once again, they are going to go best player available, and they're going to go back to the trenches. Now, in mock draft 1.0, I had the Giants going Abdul at 3, and then Derek Harmon, the defensive tackle out of Oregon, at number 34. Instead of doing the same thing and going for a defensive tackle again here, I wanted to explore a different kind of BPA that still addresses the trenches. Now we're flipping over to the offensive side of the ball. And we're going to take Donovan Jackson with this mock draft pick at number 34 overall, the offensive lineman out of Ohio State. And Donovan Jackson's a really intriguing prospect to me because I think he actually fits perfectly with the New York Giants and what they need on their offensive line. And I'll explain that in a moment. But first, I will say he did meet with the New York Giants on a top 30 visit, indicating they do have an interest in him. Now, a lot of analysts are kind of expecting him to go at the back end of round 1. Others think he might slip into round 2, which is why I'm having him go to the Giants in this mock draft, because if he does make it out of the first round, I feel like there's a really high chance that the Giants would say, hey, we thought he was going to be a first round pick. Here he is in the second round. The value is too good to pass up. We're going to go ahead and take him at number 34 overall because he is, the best player available on the draft board. So I like Donovan Jackson. And again, let me get back to why I think he makes so much sense for the Giants. He's a left guard / left tackle. Now, you might hear that and say, well, then he doesn't make sense for the Giants. We have Andrew Thomas and we have Jon Runyan. All right, well, Andrew Thomas's injuries need to factor into the decision-making here. I love Andrew Thomas. He's one of the best players on the New York Giants, point blank, period. He's a great, fantastic left tackle. But the injuries have become a serious problem. The games that the Giants play without Andrew Thomas on the field, they're a completely different football team. They need Andrew Thomas out there. And if they don't have Andrew Thomas out there, they need a better backup than what they've had the last few years. Josh Azidu has not been able to fill in. They signed Chris Hubbard off of the 49ers, practice squad last year. That was not good. Jermaine Illuminor flipping from the right side where he was practicing and playing all year over to the left side was clearly less effective. A player like Donovan Jackson not only gives you a long-term, I think, upgrade on the interior of your offensive line, but also gives you a very solid backup left tackle, which is something the New York Giants really do need. I think that Donovan Jackson low-key has potential franchise left tackle, or has franchise left tackle potential. Not saying he definitely will be that, not saying that he would be that for the Giants if they drafted him. I think he's got damn great guard capabilities. He's going to be an awesome left guard, probably from day one, because he is a really good prospect in that right. But if you need him to move to tackle, say Andrew Thomas gets hurt again, he might be a franchise left tackle as well, and you can try him out there. But at the bare minimum, I think this kid is going to be a really good guard at the next level. I don't think he has the greatest frame for playing left tackle in the NFL at only 6'4", 315 pounds. But to me, that sounds like a man who's built to play guard at the next level. That's for damn sure. He's athletic. He's very strong. I think that he's got the prototypical build to be a left guard. And like I said, having that versatility to kick outside, I think really is important for the Giants. Now, the Jon Runyan question, once again, I'm going BPA here because I don't think that the Giants have any all-pros across the board that should prevent them from drafting the best player available. Runyan's a good player. Runyan is not some elite all-pro player that's irreplaceable to me. If Donovan Jackson has that upside to be a really good starter, I think you take him, even though you've got Jon Runyan. First and foremost, Jon Runyan has the ability to play on the right side of the line. He's done it before. Yes, he's better on the left side, absolutely true, but he can play on the right side. And if you feel like Donovan Jackson's a major upgrade over him, let's say he's really showing that he's got that stuff throughout preseason and training camp, maybe you put him at left guard. The Giants still don't have a right guard here. Greg Van Roten being a backup who started games from last year, or started every game for them last year, he's not preventing me from upgrading either. And technically, in my eyes, moving Jon Runyan to the right side would be an upgrade over Greg Van Roten, potentially. So you can go with Donovan Jackson at left guard, Jon Runyan at right guard, and Jermaine Illuminor stays at right tackle, Andrew Thomas at left tackle. Now you've got your center, John Michael Schmitz. Let's imagine, okay, Andrew Thomas gets hurt again. You kick out Donovan Jackson at left tackle, see how he can perform there. You move Runyan back to left guard, and now you plug Greg Van Roten back in at right guard. So again, explaining here the solution to getting all of these guys on the field in one way or another. That's why you go BPA. Because you got to think ahead like this. You got to think, what if this guy gets hurt? Well, what about this guy's versatility? That's how the Giants need to look at these prospects. They need to look at their team as having very few irreplaceable players. Dexter Lawrence is definitely one. I think that Andrew Thomas, when healthy, is one, but because he's out of lineup so much, you have to plan to replace him. And obviously Malik Neighbors is an irreplaceable player, but outside of that, nobody really on this roster is preventing me from drafting the best player available in this draft. And again, if Donovan Jackson does fall to the Giants at number 34 overall, I think he would be the best player on the board. And that's why in this mock draft, I'm going to have him going to the New York Giants. He only let up 2 sacks last year, just to clarify and give you guys some additional info. He let up 2 sacks. Let me see how many hurries. 5 hits and 12 hurries. And I think he let up, only 19 pressures across 422 pass blocking snaps. So some really good statistics there. Once again, the Giants did meet with him. He's a very good pass protector. He's built to be a really good run blocker as well from the guard position. And I think that he's got that versatility that the Giants could really value. Now, again, I don't know if he's going to be a long-term left tackle in this league, but I think he's going to be a damn good left guard long-term and potentially could be an upgrade over Jon Runyan. So I would take him at number 34. I think he makes a lot of sense. And again, if you're going BPA, there's a really good chance if he is on the board, he's probably the best prospect available to you. And listen, the Giants, the offensive line has been a problem for them for as long as I can remember. The last 10 years, they've been cycling through guards, they've been cycling through tackles. I would love to see them get a player like this who's got that upside to be a long-term, really good starter on this New York Giants offensive line. And I think when you're looking at what Jon Runyan can provide to this team, what Donovan Jackson can provide to this team, it's stability. Stability at left guard for sure, but at left tackle as well if Andrew Thomas does get injured. So that's going to be my selection here at number 34 overall. I am curious what you guys think about that. I did go on a little bit of a long-winded explanation as to why I think the Giants could go offensive line at 34. Again, this is a predictive mock draft. Once again, I'm predicting that they're going to be taking the BPA strategy this year because Joe Schoen really tried to hammer that point home during his press conference. So I'm going to take his word at face value. I'm going to assume that they're going to go BPA at 3 and BPA once again at 34. And I think in this instance, it would actually be Donovan Jackson, the offensive lineman out of Ohio State. Now, moving into round 3, this is where things are going to get interesting, and I have to explain this selection. I've got quarterback out of Alabama, Jalen Milroe, number 65 overall. I know what a lot of you are thinking. Jalen Milroe is not going to last in number 65. Jalen Milroe got invited to the draft. He's going to be a first-round pick. Okay, so let me explain something. Jalen Milroe, I know a lot of fans are speculating that he's going to be a first-round pick because he was invited to the draft, but he just explained in a recent interview, he accepted the invite to the draft because he plans on going all 3 days if he's on the board for all 3 days because he wants to bring his family and experience the event. That's what this was. He did not indicate that he had any assurances that he'd be going early. In fact, all we've heard throughout the pre-draft process really is that he is a mid-round pick. We've heard a lot of day 2 projections for him and day 3 projections for him. So I get it. He might go a lot earlier than this, but he also might not. He really has been viewed as a 3rd-round pick for the majority of the pre-draft process. It's only after he got that that NFL draft invite, that people started mocking him near the 1st round or in the 2nd round. That really shouldn't mean as much to people as it does, in my opinion. He still is a quarterback prospect who doesn't throw the ball well. Yes, he's got rare athleticism. Yes, he's got the traits that make him a unique talent. But overall, he is not a great quarterback prospect. I think realistically, he might go in round 2. But I do think there is a chance he falls to the 3rd round. And if that's the case, the New York Giants, I think, are going to take him if he's on the board at 65. And if he's even slipping close to 65, I'm not doing trades in this mock draft, but let's say he's on the board around 50. At 65, they're picking. I think they trade up and they take him at around 50. So I'm just kind of predicting here with their 3rd pick is when they're going to go with the quarterback in this mock draft. And I think that quarterback really does have a good chance of being Jalen Milroe because I'm not buying the hype. I don't think he's a 1st-round selection. He's definitely not a 1st-round prospect. If NFL scouts are having questions as to whether or not Shedeur Sanders is a 1st-round draft prospect, there is no way in hell I think they view Jalen Milroe as a 1st-round draft prospect. There's no way he's going in the 1st round if Shedeur Sanders might not even be a top 30 pick. That's how I see it. Are you telling me that a team is going to take Jalen Milroe over Shedeur Sanders? Not going to happen. And I don't think they're going to take Jalen Milroe over Jackson Dart either, because there's some buzz that Jackson Dart could go ahead of Shedeur Sanders. So we're talking about QB4 in this draft class, guys, and QB4 doesn't usually go in the 1st round. It happened last year. That was a strange year. There was just so much quarterback talent. But realistically, oftentimes you see QB4s go at the top of the 3rd round of the draft. So I'm following that line of thinking, using the historical logic that I have, and saying I think Jalen Milroe will be there at the top of the 3rd round. I might have just said round 5, but I meant round 3. If he's there at the top of the third round, I think the Giants would take him. If he's sliding towards the third round, I think there's a really good chance they could even trade up for him. But if you don't like that selection, you don't think Jalen Milroe is going to make it there, I will pose an alternative. I think at number 65 overall, it might be a little early, but if the Giants are intent on going quarterback in the first 3 rounds, I think they're really interested in Kyle McCord. As I said earlier, Kyle McCord on the Rich Eisen show said that the Giants tested him harder than any team that he faced. He said that they showed the most interest. He said that he had a wonderful visit. He loves Brian Dable. Kyle McCord is a prospect who competed at The Ohio State, threw a lot of touchdown passes to Marvin Harrison Jr., and played well in the Big Ten. Then he went to play for Syracuse in the ACC, and I understand that was a step down, and that's because he didn't flash that otherworldly talent at Ohio State. He had a lot of flaws in his game. But if you listen to his spot on the Rich Eisen show, which I've referenced now probably more than I should, he said that after that season at Ohio State, he really sat down and had a brutally honest review of his film and looked at his tape and really, really just dove in and saw, what can I do better? And I think he did make a ton of progress this past season at Syracuse. I think he played a lot better football, the best ball of his career for sure. He did lead the nation in passing yards. The guy ran a pro-style passing offense at Syracuse as well. I actually might go as far as to say, I think Kyle McCord might be this draft sleeper quarterback. We've talked about a lot of the quarterbacks in this draft class. We've talked about Milroe. We've talked about Dart. We've talked about Will Howard a good bit as well. We haven't talked enough about Kyle McCord. I think over the next few days, I want to do a film breakdown on McCord. I actually think I might do a breakdown on all of these mid-round quarterbacks, hodgepodge together. If you guys are interested in just a quarterback review ahead of the draft, please let me know down below. But I really like Kyle McCord. The more I watch him, the more I like him. The more I listen to him speak, the more I like him as a person as well. I think he's got the character. I think he's got the drive and determination and the desire to improve. And the New York Giants seem to like him as well. So if it's not Milroe at 65, if you guys don't like that pick, you think he's going way earlier in the draft, that's fine. I totally understand. Just plug in Kyle McCord. I know this might be early for McCord, but let's plug him in there. Let's imagine the Giants just really like him. They're willing to take a chance on him early. Yes, it's a reach, but hey, they're getting their developmental quarterback. Maybe he's the QB of the future. Maybe he's a really good backup, either or. But I do really like Kyle McCord for the New York Giants. That being said, let's move into the final selection of this mock draft. Again, I know we were only doing predictive mock drafts for the first 4 picks. I kind of gave you 5 options through 3 picks here, but I digress. The mock draft, let me just recap where we are. Abdul Carter at 3, Donovan Jackson at 34. Take your pick of the 2 quarterbacks that I mentioned, Milroe or McCord at 65. And now with the number 99 overall pick in this mock draft, we're going to go with Joshua Farmer, the defensive tackle out of Florida State University. I really like Joshua Farmer. I think that there's a chance he's there at number 99, and I think the Giants would probably view him as a top 100 prospect and as the BPA if he were there. Now, the thing with Joshua Farmer and the thing with all of these guys that I mentioned, because this is a predictive mock draft, you might have noticed a trend in here. The Giants have had top 30 visits with all of these guys. Every single prospect that I mentioned had a top 30 visit with the Giants, and that was by intention. Because I want to do this predictive, I realized in my last predictive mock draft, I think round 2, 3, 4, or whatever I did, or picks 2, 3, 4 that I made for the Giants, I had a few guys that didn't have top 30 visits with the Giants. And as we know historically, the Giants really only like to draft players in the top 100 that they've met with, that they've had a top 30 visit with. And they have had a lot of visits this year. So I figured for this mock draft, let me be more predictive. Let me dive into this top 30 visit pool. And Joshua Farmer is one of the few and far between prospects that the Giants have visited with that's a fringe top 100 player in this draft class. Most of the guys that they visited with, a lot of them, overwhelming majority, are going to be top 50 to top 100 picks. But Joshua Farmer is kind of on the anomaly list because he's maybe a top 100 pick, might go a little bit after, but I think he's good value at number 99 overall. So if you didn't know, they did visit with him. And just some context on him. He ran a 5.11 40-yard dash. He had 26 bench reps, a 29-inch vertical jump, 9-foot 4-inch broad jump. So honestly, athletically, I wouldn't say he's excellent. I wouldn't say he's bad either. He's slightly above average athletically. but he comes in at 6'3", 305 pounds, and he has the kind of build, not necessarily of a nose tackle or defensive tackle right in the middle of the line, but that's okay, because that's where Dexter Lawrence plays. He's the Giants' nose tackle. What they need is a defensive end, a guy who could play next to Dexter Lawrence, and that's the perfect fit here for Joshua Farmer. So again, predictive mock draft, I'm looking at exactly what the Giants need in their scheme and who they've met with and seem to like in this pre-draft process. Joshua Farmer fits both of those questions, answers both of those questions, who can fit alongside Dexter Lawrence, and who do the Giants seemingly like. So that's going to be my prediction here at number 99 overall. And some extra stats on him: 9.4% pass rush win rate, among the highest in this draft class from all of the interior defensive linemen. He had a 76.3 true pass set pass rushing grade and a 71.4 pass rush grade. Both of those, again, among the highest in this year's draft class. Now, his 61.0 run defense grade is among the lowest in this year's draft class, and that is absolutely a flaw for Joshua Farmer. He is not the best run defender, but I do think at his size, he's got the frame to fill out and the potential to become a lot better in that regard. But I think that right now, the way that I would view Joshua Farmer, a B-gap interior rusher, and I think that's pretty valuable for the Giants as well. At number 99 overall, there aren't a ton of interior defensive linemen because I think there's going to be a run in that second and third round early in the third, and sometime maybe throughout the second. So I think once you're at number 99, you're probably not landing the premier impact player that you wanted and that you probably get at maybe pick 34 or 65. But in this regard, I think that Joshua Farmer, again, because he aligns over the B gap and the Giants have met with him, and this is a predictive mock draft, I think this is a player that they might like a lot to pair on the inside with Dexter Lawrence. And now you got a pass rushing group with a really good high upside young pass rusher and Farmer alongside Dexter Lawrence on the interior. And then on the edge, you got a rotation of Burns, Thibodeau, and Carter from this mock draft. It's a pretty great defensive line. It's pass rush heavy. I think they're going to be relying a lot on Carter to pick up the slack as a run defender for sure. Dexter Lawrence, we know, is a monster run defender. They're going to be requiring Micah McFadden and Bobby Okereke to do a lot of the dirty work as well in the run game. But now they've got a rotation here. Joshua Farmer probably starts his career out early as a third-round rotational pass rusher on the interior. Maybe as things progress, he gets a little bit better against the run, and he starts to play early downs as well. But that is why they have Rakeem Nunez-Roches. He's a good run-defending interior defensive end. So you can have him on early downs as the experienced veteran to stuff the run, and then on those late downs, you go ahead and you rotate in Joshua Farmer, who's got that speed. He's got some good athleticism. Again, not great, but good enough. And he's got some pass rushing moves, which I think is how he gets after the quarterback so effectively. So Joshua Farmer is the last pick that's going to round out this mock draft. That's a 3-round mock draft with 4 selections. Again, the Giants have 5 picks in the top 105 selections. So I could have extended this 5 more picks later and gone with the 4th round, but I'm going to do that in the next mock draft. So drop your feedback down below. Did you like this mock draft? Did you like the breakdown of this mock draft? Would you go this way? Do you think it's utter crap? Would you not take this mock draft? Would you be pissed if this is the way that it shook out for the New York Giants through the first 2 days of the draft? Let me know all of those thoughts and more, of course, down below in the comment section. You guys know we're super interactive in the comment section. I read pretty much every single comment that's left on every single Fireside Giants video. Alex responds to a lot of them. I do as well. And so if you have thoughts on this mock draft, I would love to hear it. And drop your own mock drafts down below in the comment section as well, because I like reading your guys' predictions and what you would do in addition to mine. So let's have a good, fun conversation down below. Stay tuned. More live streams on the way, of course. Tomorrow afternoon, we probably will be back live on the channel. But overall, I like this mock draft, and if I had to personally grade it, I think I'd give it a B, just because there is that big question mark at number 65 overall. I think that you could be much higher on it because of the slam dunk pick at number 3, and I think it's a great selection with Donovan Jackson at 34. But at number 65, to take the quarterback, I would rather take it at 99, but again, if the Giants are feeling like McCord isn't going to fall to 99, they take him at 65. And I know Jalen Milroe, will he fall to 65? Will he not? Was a big question mark. So overall, I'm going to give myself a B on this one. I'm also not in love with the Joshua Farmer pick. I think it's a good selection. I think it's a little bit of a need-based pick, though. I think it's a bit of a reach there at 99. However, I think that because it's a predictive mock draft, again, falling in line with what the Giants need and who they seem to like through their top 30 visits, this entire mock draft does make sense according to those indicators. So I like it. I'm going to give it a solid B. Not my best, not my worst. And hopefully the next couple will be even better. But again, stay tuned for that. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode. And comment your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And go ahead and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Without further ado, I'll catch you all on the next one. Have a good one. And let's go Giants.